Morning, Che.
Hi, good morning, Disa.
Yeah,
Is
no,
my
you are properly seated, yes.
okay, let me drop the call and see. Yeah, okay. I've increased my
No,
volume.
it's fine, it's audible.
Yeah, okay. It's better now, ne?
Yes.
Okay.
No, even the background is fine, yeah.
Even the background. Yeah,
Yes.
that's okay, no, that's fine.
Sharp, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Gesang? Gesang?
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members, officials, and guests.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Chairperson.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning,
Morning, Chair. Morning, Chair.
I hope you
Morning,
are all-
colleagues.
I hope you are all doing well this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Moodley. I'll start with my opening remarks, and yeah, it's 9:30 now. It's 1 minute over. So I'll start. I just want to give first a few house rules before I start with the opening remarks. I know when we are on online platforms, sometimes we forget things. Just for everyone to remain muted until such a time when we've asked for engagement. And then you just raise your hand. You'll go to the reaction button, you raise your hand. And then the chair will then give you an opportunity to interact with the presentation. As we go along, the chair will then call out the presenters that are going to present today. So that is just our few house rules. So as I've already greeted our honorable members, officials, and our guests, the delegation of the department led by Minister De Lille and our Deputy Minister Sochu, the delegation of South African Tourism led by Chairperson of the board, Professor Davids, I welcome you all to the meeting of the Portfolio Committee. The committee called this meeting to get a feedback on the progress made in the implementation of the action audit plans in relation to the audit findings of last year. The committee remains resolute to ensure that there is no regression in the clean audit obtained by the department and that there is a marked improvement in the audit findings of the South African tourism. The reports to be considered today, as submitted by both the department and South African tourism, show that both organizations have done tremendously well in implementing their audit action plans, with the department having resolved 100% of the 25 matters and South African tourism having resolved 95% of the 39 matters raised. At a glance, this gives confidence that the tourism portfolio as a whole is poised to receive clean audits in the current audit period and throughout the 7th Parliament. However, the question remains whether this is a true picture of what is really happening and whether both the department and South African tourism have actually reached a point where they can achieve the clean audits throughout the 7th Parliament. This presentation tabled to the committee do not inspire confidence given the worrying issues emanating from the information at hand. The committee wanted to meet the internal audit teams early in the 7th Parliament to talk to the warm bodies who do the actual work and impress on you the significance of the role you play in ensuring that public funds are used prudently. As this committee, we want both the Department of Tourism and South African Tourism to receive clean audits throughout the 7th Parliament. It is your duty as the internal audit practitioners to ensure that this happens. The following issues appear to be a challenge, and both internal audit teams should clarify them during the presentations. 1, there are numerous legislative instruments, Treasury regulations, and the National Treasury Internal Audit Framework in place to guide the internal audit function, yet matters are still not identified early enough by internal audit teams to prevent them from becoming negative findings by the Auditor General. 2, It is not clear whether the internal audit teams have capacity to deal with the audit function, as some of the issues are raised in the management letter by the Auditor General, yet they are not resolved during the auditing period. And 3, whether the department and South African Tourism have effective internal controls to streamline processes and prevent contravention of the Public Management Act and Treasury regulations. 4, it is a cause for concern that mostly the resolved matters are mainly through letters written to third parties, but there is no indication of whether the issues raised in those letters were resolved. 5, for example, how can the department assure the committee that the Development Bank South Africa has resolved its internal procurement issue, as the presentation only refers to the letter sent to DBSA, but does not say that DBSA wrote back to say internal processes have been improved. 6, the question begs then whether the department will continue receiving negative audit findings based on poor processes used by its implementing agents. 7, a huge ask is, how can South African Tourism assure the committee that all measures taken to implement the audit action plan will lead to a clean audit in the current auditing period and beyond, as the entity is littered with numerous financial management, internal control, and breaching of legislation matters. These are salient issues that the department and South African Tourism should clarify to the committee as they go through the presentation today, to take the committee into confidence that indeed the internal audit functions of both organizations have improved their capabilities. The committee is also interested to hear from the Minister as the executive authority of the department and South African Tourism, whether she is satisfied with the way audit matters have been resolved, and whether, in her opinion, both the department and South African Tourism have put all necessary internal controls measures in place to ensure that there are no repeat negative findings moving forward. The Minister is also urged to ensure that the internal audit function of both the department and South African Tourism are on top of the game at all material times. The bottom line is that internal controls must be in place, and that it is important that matters are identified as early as possible to prevent them from escalating to negative audit findings. We can now move to our second item on our agenda, which is the adoption of the agenda. May I have a mover for the adoption of the agenda?
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Flongo.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Flongo. Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I second the move by Honorable Flongo.
Thank you, Honorable Dikharaba. We'll now move to the third item on the agenda, which is the apologies. And it will be done by our Committee Secretary, Disang.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members, our guests. Chair, the apology I've received, it's the apology of the CEO of SA Tourism. I have shared the letter from the CEO to the committee WhatsApp group for the members because I received this morning. However, Mr. Daryl Smith, Erasmus is the one that is going to lead the presentation for the entity. And then in terms of the delegation that is present, Chair, the delegation of the department is led by the Minister, Honorable Delil, and the Deputy Minister, Honorable Sochu. And the delegation from the Department of Tourism is led by the Director General, Mr. Victor Vele, Ms. Thokozile Sibia, who is the Chief Audit Executive, Dr. Shamila Chetia, Deputy Director General, Destination Development. Ms. Mapunya is the Chief Financial Officer. From SA Tourism Chair, we've got the Chairperson of the Board, Professor Gregory Davids, Mr. Mala Matola, Chairperson for Audit and Risk Committee, Interim Chair, and then the department from the entity the presentation will be led by Mr. Daryl Erasmus on behalf of the CEO, Ms. Nombulelo Goliwe, who fell ill, and then Ms. Takalani Ramuva, acting CFO, and Ms. Shonisani Namakwarani is the head of internal audit, the acting head of internal audit. We've also got the parliamentary relation officers of the minister, Mr. Kutsiye, for the deputy minister, Mr. Klaba, and then for the DG, Ms. Van Niekerk. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Tisang. Before we are going to the briefing by the department, I'd like to give the minister an opportunity to do some political overview for us. Minister De Lille.
Good morning, Chairperson, and congratulations with your appointment. We look forward to working with you. And my apologies for logging in late. I've got some network problems. So I want to ask your permission, Chair and honorable members, if I can disconnect my video for now, just to stabilize the network and see how it goes through the meeting. But thank you so much for the opportunity.
You may do so, Minister. You may.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, I want to start by informing the committee about my quarterly meetings that I have with the Auditor General, the Department of Tourism, and SAT. We had a meeting with the Auditor General on the 30th of April this year as our quarterly meeting. And I can send the message that we have received from the AG about the department and SAT. The AG instruction to the Executive Authority and the Accounting Authority in terms of SAT and the department is what the AG calls a call to action. The AG call for improved service delivery enabled by capable, cooperative, accountable, and responsive institutions delivering on their mandate. To activate the accountability system to address the current realities. That is in the introduction. The AG further pointed out the culture of inadequate accountability and consequences, and that the Executive Authority and the Deputy Minister should insist on timely and credible reporting and accountability, and should play an oversight role effectively and with greater impact. The AG went on to say to request a regular feedback and monitor through the in-year reporting and oversight processes on the portfolio's rate of achievement of key service delivery targets to ensure early interventions, corrective actions, or possible accountability discussions. To monitor the timely submission of credible financial statements by the department and SAT. Continue to monitor the implementation of planned actions by the Accounting Authority of SAT to address the material irregularities to promote its institutional integrity. Lastly, continue to monitor the implementation of planned actions and improvements in the control environment by the Accounting Authority to improve the audit outcomes. The example in the case of SAT, the number of vacancies and key positions, monitoring of filling of key vacant positions on SAT, such as the Chief Financial Officer and the Head of Internal Audit. What follow after this, honorable members? We have a bi-weekly meeting, the Deputy Minister and myself with the DG of the Department of Tourism. We again raise this, and that this is an instruction and a call to action by the AG. I called a meeting also with the board of SAT just last week, and I circulated to them in writing the call to action for improvement from the AG to all the board members, including the administration. We also held a meeting with the executive team of SAT, where we work through the supply chain management policies and the delay in implementing decisions. And I then produced a list to the board of SAT last week. I gave them a list of outstanding issues. In the meeting with the board of SAT, we also discussed, and we are busy looking at taking action around it, a finding by the AG of the 23-24 financial year. And the board presented to me what they have done, and I am still waiting for outstanding information from the board so that we can finalize an outstanding issue of the 23-24 financial year. Also, we have instituted in the department that on a monthly basis, the DM and myself will meet with the DG and all the DDGs on a monthly basis. We had such a meeting on Friday last week. And that, from the Deputy Minister and myself, is to continue to improve our oversight role. But herein, and I first of all want to apologize to the Portfolio Committee with the when you received the submissions, the presentations that we are dealing with today. This is the standard operating procedure that we follow in the ministry. We receive a quarterly program from the Portfolio Committee. And that quarterly program of the Portfolio Committee is then sent to the DG of the department and all the DDGs of the department, and including also the CEO of SAT. So they've got ample notice of when the Portfolio Committee will be meeting on what. And if the Portfolio Committee update your program, we then also send the updated program to the DG, the DDGs, and the CEO of SAT. What happened in this particular instance in preparing for this meeting, the department and SAT has been informed that the deadline for submission to the minister, because the minister must see the submissions a week before the actual portfolio committee. So we gave them the deadline of the 13th of June. But on the 12th of June, we requested more details from the portfolio committee so that we could directly answer any concerns that the portfolio committee has got, which we then received. The portfolio assisted us to unpack exactly what they want answered. And then we said to the department, based on the further details that the portfolio committee is requiring, we will move the deadline to the 17th of June. Now, deadlines means absolutely nothing to both SAT and the department. And I'm taking the blame because the buck stops with me. I'm not shifting my responsibility and the DM, but we must share this information with the portfolio committee. Then the minister received the submission from the department on the 19th of June. The 19th of June, 2 days after the deadline. I then have to work through the submission of the department, and then I send it to the portfolio committee on the 20th of June, around about 1:40 in the afternoon. From SAT, we received the submission. I received the submission from SAT at 2100 hours on the 19th. On the morning of the 20th, I worked through the submission and I sent it back for corrections. It was not answering what the portfolio committee is requesting. I even went so far to send to the CEO the format that the Department of Tourism has used to answer the portfolio concerns. Then that night, Friday night, late, we received then at 7 o'clock that night. I then look at the presentation of SAT. It was still not satisfactory, but I had to now be concerned that the rule from the portfolio committee is that the members must receive the presentation at least 72 hours before the time. And both the department and SAT, they are aware about this. So the 72 hours start on Thursday, on Friday, and Monday, because the portfolio committee will be meeting on Tuesday. So we were way out of the 72 hours. Then finally, the submission was sent off to the portfolio committee at 2000 hours on Friday. Then I got the records where there is daily follow-up from the ministry, from the DM and myself, daily follow-up with the department and SAT as to when can we expect the submission so that the minister can approve it before it goes to the portfolios. It's a continuously exercise. Now, I have recorded this to illustrate it's not only happening now, it's happening all the time. All the time, we must plead and beg to make sure that the minister receive it in time and the portfolio committee receive in time. And this is where now in my meeting with the Department with the board of SAT just last week, we had agreed that all correspondence that I sent to the administration of SAT, whether it's the CEO or the COO, I will copy the board. And I will copy every member of the board. I will not just only send it to the chairperson. The DM and myself discussed this with the DG in our last meeting. And he expressed to us several problems that he has got in terms of getting this information from the DDGs. I will share with the portfolio committee a letter that I wrote to the DG around outstanding questions. It's the same problem with questions. And I think, yes, the DM and myself, we are accountable to Parliament. But the accounting officer of the department, who is responsible for the administration, must fix this. And he must not come and complain to the DM and myself about his problem with the DDGs. But honorable members, I want to assure you that I'm working, and the DM, we are working very hard to fix this once and for all. I had a meeting with the board of SAT. I had a meeting with the CEO of SAT and the management of the SAT. And the records are there. So we are really trying very hard to fix it. But it's like in by the one ear and out by the and the other ear. To an extent that I said to the DM, we have got records of how we are begging and sometimes even praying to get this information in time to the portfolio committee, and the time now is to act. So I want to apologize for that, because this to me is not only a disrespect to the portfolio committee and by extension to Parliament, it's also showing disrespect to the Auditor General. And what I've done now, in order to show the Auditor General that the call to action of what the executive authority must do to improve the oversight. With SAT, I'm going so far now to illustrate to the AG that the DM and myself, we have listened to her. I copy the AG on all my correspondence to SAT specifically, to show the AG that from the executive authority side, we have listened to her, and this is what we are doing. And I will continue to do so, to show the AG, but it's not solving the problem at the end of the day, Honorable Chair. People need to be held accountable. And the buck stops with the DM and myself, and I'm not making an excuse, but I just am brutally honest with the portfolio committee. I will respect whatever your decisions are, whatever instructions you give to the executive authority. But we are facing with this situation in both SAT and the Department of Tourism. So, and unless unless the chairperson would like to put any, or the portfolio committee members would like to put any questions to me or the deputy minister, we will be prepared to answer as it relates to the standard operating procedure. I don't want to sit here, because this meeting is public, and share with the whole world, with the whole of South Africa, what are the problems even in filling vacancies. The standard operating procedure within the department and SAT does not comply with prescribed timelines. And then the AG then comes to the minister and the executive authority and raise the issue of filling vacant position at SAT, such as the CFO and the head of internal audit. Honorable members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity, but I still take full responsibility for everything. I'm not passing the buck here at all. So thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Minister Delmo, and for taking the committee into confidence and your brutal honesty. We will now give an opportunity. Oh, I see there's a hand. Honorable Linda.
Chairperson, good morning. My question is just, can we respond to the minister's inputs now?
I thought we were going to take the first presentation and then follow with the, oh, I also see Honorable Mootley there. Let me just check the time. I think we are still good with the time. We'll take those two hands and then we will.
I think, Chair, we should do these questions after the presentations are done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me make a ruling in terms of that, Honorable Linda. We will get the department to do their briefing. And then we will then take questions after that. And then we will get the second presentation by South African Tourism and then take questions after that. Because I can see, I wanted to cluster the two presentations together, but I can see that there is going to be a lot of questions that would be raised and interactions on especially South African tourism. So let us receive the presentation by the department quickly. I see someone is sharing, and then the presenter by the department, if I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Daryl Erasmus that was supposed to do the presentation. Mr. Erasmus, over to you.
Good morning. Good morning, it's Daryl speaking.
Daryl, if you have another gadget there close to your laptop, if you could just press it on mute. There will be like
apologies, Chair.
We still have an echo in our meeting.
Apologies, Chair. I just want to confirm you can hear me and the echo is gone.
Yeah, the echo is gone.
My apologies. There's many of us sitting in the room together. Just to confirm, Chair, that this presentation is going to be done by the department and I will lead the one for South African tourism. Still to come.
Thank you, Mr. Erasmus. The presenter from the department, you may proceed.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Thank you for the invite. I'm not so sure if I should show my video. I'm trying to show it at this so that the name can be attached to the face, but I think I seem to be struggling. I'm not sure if you can see me.
No, I think you can switch off your video now. Ms. Sibia, we've seen you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Save some bandwidth. You may proceed.
Okay, thanks. Good morning once again, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you for the invite and opportunity to come to the committee and brief the committee on the follow-up audit work performed on the audit action plan. And the presentation is outlined as follows: the mandate and responsibility of internal audit in terms of the PFMA, applicable treasury regulations, summary of the National Treasury Internal Audit Framework, overall key HSA audit findings and progress, summary of HSA audit findings, detailed progress on audit findings, reasons for failure in identifying internal audit issues before becoming HSA findings, recommendations and next step, conclusion, and lastly, question and answers. I think we can move to the next slide, Petra. Then the mandate and responsibility of internal audit, as stated in the PFMA, Section 38 states that the accounting office of the department must ensure that the department has and maintain a system of internal audit under the direction of the audit committee. And the purpose of internal audit is to provide independent, objective assurance and consulting services designed to add value and improve the operations of the department. And then to also evaluate effective risk management, control, and governance processes to facilitate and execute investigation of suspected fraudulent/irregular activities within the department. The responsibility and scope is to assess compliance with relevant legislation and policies, review the efficiency and effectiveness of operations, ensure reliability and integrity of financial and operational information, as well as safeguarding of assets. Next slide, Petra, Treasury regulations, applicable Treasury regulations. Regulation 3.2.4, the internal audit function must prepare a risk-based 3-year rolling internal audit plan and an annual plan for approval by the audit committee. Regulation 3.2.5, internal audit activities must align with the risk management strategy of the department and ensure risks are adequately identified and managed. Regulation 3.2.6, quarterly reports must be submitted to the audit committee to highlight progress and any significant internal control weaknesses. The summary on the National Treasury Internal Audit Framework, the objective is to guide departments in establishing and managing an effective internal audit function. Key principles: independence. The internal audit function must report functionally to the audit committee. Risk focus. Internal audit activities must be prioritized based on risk assessment. Adequate resources. Internal audit units must be adequately staffed with skilled personnel. The next slide. Okay. The main objective of the follow-up is to track progress in as far as the implementation against the agreed action plan and assess the adequacy and timelines of management action, provide recommendations for unresolved issues, progress made, adequate steps taken for most identified risks, timely implementation of agreed findings, and then areas for improvement if there are any risks unresolved, and then we should be able to provide more recommendations to that. Next slide. And then summary of the audit findings. Okay, before I go to the summary of the audit findings, I just want to indicate that from the Department of Tourism, there is a structure in place to deal with the audit action plan. There is a committee chaired by the DG, and it constitutes of all DDGs, the relevant chief directors and directors, risk management, internal audit, as well as legal services. The committee meets at least once a month and whenever necessary. The audit action plan is a standing agenda item in all audit committee meetings. The audit committee closely monitors the progress of the audit action plan. The follow-up audit on AGSA finding. The audit itself is an open audit and report was updated as and when actions plans were implemented by management, even post the 31st March 2025. So 12 of the 25 findings are from the DPSA, PWP infrastructure on the work performed on behalf of the department. And then the remainder, which is 13, are from the department. They are mainly made up of SCM, ICT, HR, as well as finance. And then just to sum up now, the resolution status. Yes, the resolution status, we can say from the review of the documents, we can say that we have managed to resolve the actions that the department have committed to do, and places at 100%. Yes, still the summary of findings. We can go to the next slide. Detailed progress of the findings. The first finding has to do with the expired COIDA. This was from the side of the DPSA. It was during the bidding of one of, I think, about two contractors were affected by it, where they submitted the expired COIDA certificate. The COIDA certificate expired actually on the day the tender closed. That's the date when they expired. And then it turned out when they checked online, they've actually expired. So now, from this, apologies, Chair, for only stating about the letters. I think my worry was on the PowerPoint the template itself, thinking that if I bring in too much information, it won't properly fit. However, in the Word document, from our working papers, as well as the Word audit report, we do have more information on these issues. I just lifted the letters simply because from the AGSA recommendation, they seem to recommend more on stakeholder engagement between the department and DPSA, and also for the department to exercise its oversight responsibility over DPSA in as far as project management as well as monitoring of projects. That is why I lifted the letters where the department was now communicating with DPSA, requesting documents and then indicating what needs to happen. Otherwise, there is a document that talks to what DPSA was saying, responding to the letters that the department sent to them. So the first one, the action was that they will amend the criteria, which they've done. They will conduct online verification so as to close the gap of this expired certificates to be able to detect that. They've closed that gap. And then with regards to the letter, the response now from DPSA on this matter was that they investigated the two contractors. There was an investigation around this issue, and the two companies affected were reported to National Treasury. And again, to close the gap, the DPSA adopted the department policy for contractors and suppliers that are in the wrongdoing. The process of consequence management is also on a continuum. That is the first part. So those are the measures as well as the action that DPSA took in relation to this matter. And then the next one was on the BEE. There was an error that was made on this one. So, given the error, the DPSA then promised that they will engage the DTIC for the interpretation, because the finding actually led to non-compliance to the procurement preferential regulation. So then DPSA indicated that they will consult to DTIC so as to gain an understanding of a clear interpretation of what needs to happen in this area. And what then happened is that letter to DTIC, as well as the response, was sent to the department. The department does have that communication between DPSA and the DTIC. So that's why you can safely say the matter on this one is resolved, because we did review the documents. Then the third one, weekly, this one, as per the action as well, what was committed to be done in terms of the action, that is exactly what was done. The checklist was included, and the checklist was updated with the relevant information to prevent a future recurrence. Then the next one is what lead procurement plan. Even this one, the action that the department committed that they'll develop a schedule so that they stick to the timelines in terms of submitting the quarterly procurement plans. And subsequent to that, when we audited what the department submitted up to the last quarter, the third quarter, they did stick to that timeline that by the 10th, they would have sent that to National Treasury. So that action is resolved. The next one was resolved as well. This was the one where the department, the template had some, it posed a challenge for the department. So the department had to come up with a new template, and they then requested Ramsar Chartered Accountants to review that comparative schedule. So that action was also resolved as well. Evaluation control deficiency. It has to do with updating of the checklist to ensure that it adjusts to the compliance requirements. What happened with anything that has to do with checklists from the SCM and Finance, the Office of the CFO, they went and revised all their templates to ensure that they meet the legislative requirements. Okay, 7, lack of independent review. I think it's from this one is from human resource. There was an issue about non-alignment of what is in the hard copy file versus what is on the PESAL system. So there was that lack of supervisory sort of inspection on to see if what is on the system is actually in the file. So, but now they are doing those independent review, and they are also having meetings to discuss such issues. So the finding has been the action has been implemented. The number 8 is also resolved in terms of what the department committed to do. And just to explain, Chairperson, when we say results, we specifically we're speaking to the action, that the next level, the next step for this, as I said, that this is an open audit, it's not closed yet. We are still to do the effectiveness testing of all the actions that have been implemented, because they have now become part of the control systems. So internal audit in the 25-26 will go and perform the effectiveness testing to check if the controls are working as intended. Then number 9, the correction of the financial statements happened during the course of the regularity audit before AGSA issued the final report. These were corrected. The same as number 10 as well. They were corrected during the regularity audit. And then number 11, this has to do with the PW project delays and the department communicating with DPSA and DPSA providing the information that is requested by the department, and highlighting exactly what they've done. They do, from what we have seen, the GE, the executive from DPSA, do provide documents on what exactly are they doing from that side at project, even at project level. I think the only challenge for us is the internal audit in the Department of Tourism. We can't access DPSA, we can't go to DPSA and further audit or maybe do effectiveness testing because there are some limitations. DPSA has their own internal auditors. So now what we can do maybe is try to work on an arrangement where we request their own internal audit to follow up on those issues and do the effectiveness testing and provide the department with an assurance report that everything they have implemented is working as it should. And then number 12, number 13, 12, contract, improve compliance enforcement. Yes, the letter dated, it was sent to DPSA, and then this DPSA responded to what they're doing in relation to that. There is a documentation and evidence to review. 13. It's the same, I think it's the same for 13. It's also from DPSA. It's one of those findings that comes from DPSA, as well as 14 has to do with DPSA. And then number 15, improve planning and coordination, is DPSA as well. Number 16, Petra. Number 16, it's DPSA. It's when you look at the AGSA report, what they are lifting up is the issue of stakeholder engagement between the department and DPSA on project management issues, as well as improving on oversight responsibility on project management, as well as monitoring of project. That's what AGSA is lifting, mostly when it comes to the findings related to DPSA. And then number 17, put measures in place to ensure, yes, it's the same thing. I think for future audits, there are some measures have been put in place that going forward, how are we going to deal with this matter? So the letter, then there's a response on exactly what is it that's going to happen in this instance. Number 18, construction of remedy defects before completion. Yes, this one was resolved. This one was resolved as well. There is evidence to this affected. Number 19, movable and tangible assets. This is SCM. Procurement. Okay, this was resolved as well. The checklist was designed, and then the checklist was designed, but the system was not procured due to budget constraints. But they appointed an outside service provider to come and investigate the asset, the disposal of asset, the asset disposed. So the investigation started and it has concluded. A draft report has been issued to the department. So what's left now is to discuss that report, and then thereafter, I think it's for the department to take it forward. Number 20. Same issue of a checklist as well. As I reported that OCFO revised all their checklists to ensure that they meet the requirements. So it also falls under that one. 21 is PWP. This one is has been dealt with as well. 22, IT, the recommendation as well as the action plan was the observation from internal audit, the vulnerability assessment was conducted, and what's remaining is the testing of the effectiveness side of this action. That will be done in 2025, 2026. I think starting from August, immediately when HSA completes their audit. Number 23, a locked tool was acquired as well, and system effectiveness untested. It will be part of the effectiveness testing by internal audit in August. ICT strategic plan, yes, it was approved by the acting DG on the 30th of April last year. So the matter has been dealt with. 25, lack of business impact assessment is conducted, and then the exercise also is still in progress towards conclusion. The next slide, Petra. Okay, the reasons for failure in identifying internal audit issues before becoming HSA findings. The first reason for that is that different focus, HSA internal audit have, our focus is different. Different focus areas as well as scope. Internal audit often concentrate on varying priority areas and may result in gaps. That's one of the reasons where you'll find that, for instance, HSA in most cases, their audits are more on those that will affect the financial statements. And internal audit is a way if you look at our plan, it's very balanced. We audit all the programs in the department. In our plan, you will have an audit on business incubation program, tourism monitors program, destination development enhancement. And those are audits that you will not find in under HSA scope. So our focus is different. That's the first reason. And then the second one is reliance on internal audit work by HSA, meaning HSA may not sample files which were previously reviewed by internal audit, which may lead to different outcomes. Before HSA commences with their audit, we have a meeting. We have just to report that the relationship between internal audit and HSA, we have a very good working relationship. So we have meetings regularly. We share, if there's anything that we have to share, we share it. So now, with this one as well, before they commence with their work, we sit, we share plans, they indicate this is what we'll be doing. What are you going to do, or what have you done? Can you please share what you have done? Share with us your reports so that you can see what were the issues that you faced. And that's the arrangement that we have. That's the working relationship that we have. And from our reports, some of the findings, they do elevate them to their management report. And one could see that this is our finding. And there's nothing wrong from us, because that is the coordination of effort between ourselves that we have. So that's the other reason that the issues cannot. It appears, it looks as if we don't raise issues, whereas in fact we do raise issues. But you'll find that sometimes those issues they do. Or the other reason may be that we have not brought our findings to the portfolio committee. You will be surprised when you bring our internal audit findings. Actually, see that we do raise these issues, the same issues that AGSA raise. So thirdly, some internal audit findings are elevated, is what I've just said now, are elevated to management due to a lack of implementation or follow-through or recommendations/action plans. And the reasons for that is purely about timing. AGSA starts their work around October, November, and you'll find that not much has happened in terms of addressing internal audit findings. So you will then find that sometimes when they take the reports, our reports, they then follow up on what internal audit has done. And if nothing has happened, then they then elevate those findings to their management report. That's how it happens. Then the fourth one is inadequate risk assessments. Emerging risks or changes in the risk environment are not properly identified and captured in the risk registers. That's the other reason for internal audit. You'll find that emerging risks are not properly identified, so they are not captured in the risk registers. And if they're not captured in registers, they may not be picked by internal audit for auditing, because we are implementing a risk-based internal audit plan, which is based on the results of the risk assessment. So that is the other reason. Whereas with AG, when they start with their work, they're requesting internal audit reports. They do indicate that we are also going to use your reports for risk identification. So it gives them a better view of issues, where issues are in the department. And then it makes it easier for them to identify issues. So that is the other reason. And then lastly, inability to audit some processes performed at implementing agents on behalf of the department, as there are inherent limitations regarding the provision of assistance to prevent and detect certain implementation issues that take place at the EG procurement. It's exactly what I said earlier. For example, DPSA. AGSA do have access to DPSA. They do go there and audit, and we do not have access to DPSA. So yes, AGSA will raise findings regarding DPSA, but internal audit will not be able to raise findings regarding DPSA because we are limited. We can't access that area. So that is the other reason for us, simply because those institutions have their own internal audit. But I'm not saying they cannot be audit. Probably we need to, there are options that we may want to explore, or maybe engage there through the contracts that we have with them, engage their own internal audit to audit the processes that they are doing for us, and then provide the report with an assurance, the department with an assurance report that they've audited those processes. Maybe that can work. But as for us going there, I think that's another discussion for another day. The next slide. Wow, better. I think just go back 2 slides. Okay, the recommendation and next steps, we are saying if the department continues to maintain accountability to prevent recurrence of issues, and then continue monitoring to sustain compliance, enhance the processes, and reinforce training and awareness initiatives for ongoing improvement. And then internal audit will continue to test for the effectiveness of the actions implemented, which are now part of the control systems in the current financial year, 25-26. And then the next one, Petra, next slide. Next slide. Wow. The conclusion. I think the conclusion. Yeah. We are saying all audit findings have been resolved. Focus remains on sustaining improvement, ensuring robust systems. Then we acknowledge appreciation to staff for collaboration and dedication. I know that it was not easy, but we managed and we're still continuing. It's an ongoing process. It has not ended. And then summary, and we're saying significant progress has been made, but continued vigilance is still required. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thokozile Sibiya, our Chief Audit Executive, for the presentation. I will now give honorable members an opportunity to post some questions and give some inputs. They can as well engage on the minister's input as well as the presentation by Ms. Sibiya. May I see some hands, honorable members?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Disang, if you can
Yes,
assist.
just to check if the chair or the members would prefer to have both presentations at once, or they will engage each presentation separately.
Disang, I already made a ruling, I think previously, when Honorable Linda's
Okay, Chair.
I made a ruling.
Okay, Chair.
I'm also checking the chat box as well. So honorable members, requested to post questions after each presentation. So I'm giving them an opportunity now.
Chair. Greetings, Chair.
I can't see who it is that is
It's
greeting.
It's Member Mashabela, Chair.
Yes, Member Mashabela?
Yes, Chair. I think in the past, Chair, as a norm, we used to take all presentation. Then at the end, then we go to questions. Let it be so, please.
Thank you for your suggestion. Thank you for your suggestion, Honorable Mashabela. I'm the chairperson. I've made a ruling and my ruling stand. Let me just take Honorable Likharaba. I can see your hand first, followed by Honorable Ishmael, followed by Honorable Linda, followed by Honorable Maeto, followed by Honorable Moodley, you may proceed in that order. I will call again hands.
Thank you, Chairperson. To the Minister, the DM, and all my colleagues in the House, the Department and the SAT, good morning. I have a 3 clarity-seeking questions on the presentation made by the Department. I just want clarity, Chair, on exactly how the DBSA addressed the concern raised around amending the tender criteria, conducting online registration, verification, and notifying the compensation commissioner. I heard the presenter saying that they don't have a control over the DBSA on how they do their own thing. But once you mention them here, we'll have interest because it has negative impact on the finding of the department. That is why I'm bringing in this question here at the DBSA on how they do their things on tender criteria and conducting online verification. Then my second question, Chair, is on finding number 7, which speaks about lack of independent review. However, The observation just indicate that reviews were conducted and meetings are available. My question remains whether reviews were independent or who conducted them. The last one, Chair, it's on finding number 9, which I would like to know how much was the regular expenditure that you are referring to and how did it come about? Also, what are the corrections that have been made? Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to everybody on the platform. Firstly, let me welcome the presentation. Okay. Sorry, Chair, I think I just lost some connectivity there. I'm hoping you can hear me. Can you please confirm?
I can hear you, Honorable Ismail. You may continue.
Thank you so much. So let me first welcome the presentation. I do see some positives. However, I do have some ongoing concerns, and my questions are related to these concerns. So my first area of concern is how effective are your controls? You've reported 100% resolution, but many systems are flagged as, in inverted commas, effectiveness untested. So when will internal audit conduct actual testing to confirm that these controls work in real world practice? Because that is actually the outcomes that we want to see. Secondly, on DBSA verification, how has the department independently verified DBSA's claim of compliance? Because that's the crux of the matter. Can you provide evidence of site visits, financial verification, or quality audits for the flagged infrastructure projects? A letter here and a letter there is not telling us much, unfortunately. Now I'm looking at consequence management, right? So have any disciplinary actions been taken, cases opened, or contractors penalized? Because if wasteful expenditure has been occurred, how much has been recovered and how? That is again the crux of what we want to know. This is taxpayers' monies. And then again, we've had so many white elephants. So given recurring issues with project delivery, what measurable safeguards, not just procedural fixes, have been introduced to ensure that projects are completed on time, within budget, and with sustained public value? I think that's what we actually want to know. And then, we've seen projects like the Mathonsi Tourism Facility and Sapeke Cultural Village hit delays or end up underused. Can the department provide measurable safeguards such as contractor performance penalties, monthly progress dashboards, or post-completion usage tracking that are now in place to avoid such investments becoming white elephants again? And then again, given the recurring delays, unresolved infrastructure issues, and audit concerns linked to DBSA implemented projects, can the department confirm whether the current Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with the DBSA has been reviewed or, renegotiated, and how it ensures performance monitoring, consequence management, and value for money on taxpayer-funded tourism infrastructure projects? And I don't know if this MOU can actually be made available to the committee to see, because we always hearing, this is a DBSA issue and the DBSA must do that, but it's our business to know what is going on with the money. And we want to understand the criterion of the MOU so that we know who to hold to account. And then lastly, just on what the minister said, I just want to highlight that, Minister, with due respect, you've always seemed to be waiting for reports from either department, the entity, and even agencies. And this is like unacceptable. So, I mean, if officials have the obligation to send you these reports, etc., and they are in, dereliction of duty, then you, Minister, and the DG are not actually exercising your executive powers correctly. And I think, this is a matter for the internal human resources functions of the department. Please liaise with them and deal with this matter as a matter of urgency, because it does not reflect well. And we want the tourism department and our entity to function properly. And if this is an issue, we need to be addressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ismail. Honorable Maecho.
Thank you. Thank you. My apologies, Chair. Greetings to the Minister and greetings to the DM, as well as the department and the board, the SA team. Lastly, greetings to our honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. Chair, let me start with the input of the minister, and so I want to also agree with Honorable Ismail with regard to the consequence management that should be applied as well by the executive. In this case, I'm speaking about the minister and the TG, in ensuring that when the officials are sitting with these particular reports, and these reports are not adhered to in as far as the implementation is concerned, the minister should take action, and then a decisive action in this particular matter, so that when the minister comes and present or make input, in the conclusion of her input, she then says that this is the decision, this is the decisive decision that I have taken against this particular department officials. I think that should be the line of march. But equally, the minister also mentioned the standard procedures that are not compliant when it comes to the prescribed timelines when filling the vacancies. And I should agree with the minister, and I want to sponsor, Chair, uh, this following points, which I think that the minister should consider when going now back to the department, the board, and ensuring not the boardman or the department and the officials within the departments, ensuring that there is a thorough implementation of what needs to be done, so that we avoid laziness by officials. And the following are the points that I need to make, which is to identify the cause of the delay. I think we must identify the cause of the delay so that we determine the reason for non-compliance, whether it's due to administrative issues or lack of resources or other factors. And then number two, minister must also notify relevant stakeholders, like you are notifying us here in a form of input that this is your concern. And we want to honor you, Minister, by being open and honest with us, because you can identify easily this laziness. And I will continue to say laziness on the basis that it can't be correct by now that the department is still struggling to fill this particular vacancies within the prescribed timelines. Hence, I'm saying that we we must be informed as relevant stakeholders, but including other relevant stakeholders within the system, including affected parties as well as decision makers, about the delay and the potential consequences. Now, the last point, Chair, on the minister will be to review and to revise procedures so that you revise them if necessary to prevent similar delays in future. Now, in the context of organizational or governmental vacancies, it becomes very essential to prioritize transparency, accountability, fairness in addressing the issues and finding a solution. Now we'll go to the presentation that is presented by the department. Uh, Slide 5, it outlines the guides on how the internal audit assist the department, blah, 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 blah. However, when you go through other slides in listening to the presentation, it tells you that the internal audit itself is doing disservice to the department, because in most cases it has identified correctly the issues that causes this uh, so-called resolved, and in my view they're not resolved. In my view, they're not resolved, because if you say a finding is resolved, yet the presentation continues to say that there is a letter written to the DBSA, and yet that letter is not the letter is not in explicitly telling us what actions are being taken And what did the DBSA particularly wrote back in response to the very same letter that was written to the DBSA? So in my view, I find it very strange that we must agree that the findings, the 25 findings, are resolved and are 100% in slide 7 in terms of the status of the resolution of the findings. I find it very strange, and I don't want to agree when it comes to that. But moving forward, Chair, uh, on the slide 10, y- slide 10, you can see that the Quaida certificate expired. And when you look at the observations or the actions that are being done by the internal audit, it goes back to the very same thing that we are then told here of letters that are not detailed. Letters, it's like these are love letters. So we're going to give the honorable members these presentations, and then we give them a summarized version, not a detailed report on what actions has been taken when it comes to the findings. For me, it's another laziness by the internal audit in performing their functions as it's supposed to have performed. And then slide 13, documents that are provided by the DBSA are not highlighted. Those documents are not highlighted. And it speaks to the very same thing. And that's why I'm going to lament and harbor too much on the very same issue of these issues of letters. They are not provided, yet the DBSA, the presenter says that it has its own internal audit. And of course, if it has its own internal audit processes, it does have its own findings. What if that these findings are contradictory to the findings that the current one that were presented with happen to be true, or happen not to be correlating very well with the very same ones of the DBSA? So for me, Chair, I think that we we must propose to the minister that there must be a bilateral meeting between the DBSA, the department, as well as the internal audit. But this internal audit, I can assure you, is not speaking to the AG findings and the action plan that is supposed to be implemented. And the internal audit is doing the service, and instead of advising the department properly, it continues to mislead. This is my view. And the minister, we cannot accept this type of reports that must come before the portfolio committee. And as a portfolio committee, our oversight role becomes minimal because we're giving a piecemeal information. This is not a fully fledged information. And it's like we're being micromanaged. And for what? I don't understand. When it comes to the full information and the detailed information of what we should preside over and play our critical fundamental role, which is oversight. And therefore, it will then minimize our role. Slide number 18 does not provide an investigation outcomes and a summarized report. It does say there are investigations that were conducted, and that's it. And then the department and the internal audit says that we are awaiting, or we no, they received that. No, they received actually. They received the outcomes of the investigation. But I don't understand what was the reason for them not to include these outcomes of the investigations in these reports. So, I really see this presentation as a bleak prognosis of some sort, because it doesn't give hope to the members of the public. It doesn't even give hope to us as politicians. But say the questions which the two questions which will be last on my input will be: were there any financial implication incurred as a result of incorrect disclosure of key management personnel, or was it purely administratively? And then there is the last one, what was the remedial action taken by DBSA? Because the very same DBSA seem to be receiving love letters from the internal audit, yet we don't get their responses. But now, what was the remedial action taken by the DBSA regarding EPWP project delays? Because they are reflective in these findings. Chair, I think that I will pause for now, allow other members to input, and Chair, if permitted, I will then come back, but of course, if permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Maestro. Honorable Mashabela.
Chair, I think it was first me.
Okay, Honorable Linda, I do not see your hand raised on the...
I took it off because you did recognize me, Chairperson.
Okay, you may come in, and then followed by Honorable Mashabela.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning again, colleagues and all delegates to the meeting. Chairperson, to start with the Minister's response, that is really, it's alarming, and it's clear that the AG's recommendations are not taken seriously, not by our Ministerial office, not by SIT, not by the department. And to meet with the board a week before the consideration of this report, really looks to me like crisis control. And the apology from the minister should not be to us as the portfolio committee chair, but rather to all the ratepayers whose money is wasted year on year due to non-accountability, no transparency, and no motivation to fix this mess that the department and SIT is in. So I have a little advice for Honourable Minister and our Deputy Minister is that let's stop refraining, or let's refrain from blaming the department and SIT. Let's start focusing on individuals who's not doing the job. If they don't want to work, fire them. It's in your power to do so. So, Chair, on this report, I need to say, and I concur with Honourable Maestro, the DA rejects that all 25 AXA audit findings are 100% resolved. It can't be. If you look at the rest of the report, it doesn't make sense. But I have a few questions, and my apology if I repeat, because I think all of us share the same sentiment regarding this report. I need to know, Chairperson, how much public funds were recovered from the failed project, and what systems ensure future agents are held directly accountable? Do we have anything in place to ensure that? And then question number 2, Chairperson, how does the department verify that correction actions are operational and effective beyond the paperwork? And I think my colleagues did touch on that. Because for findings relying on untested controls, what independent verification exists to confirm they won't reoccur? Question 3, Chair, what is the total quantifiable loss, rand value, from project failures identifying these findings? What changes to project oversight, contractor vetting, and budgetary controls are implemented to prevent these repeat losses? What is the total cost to taxpayers of the 25 audit findings, and why is this excluded from the report to the Oversight Committee? And I'm very serious about this question, Chair. I hope we can answer that. So, Chair, this report, there's no accountability, no transparency. The fiscal responsibility is really minimal, and I want to see what consequence management the department is going to put in place to recover all the losses that we have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Linda. Honourable Mashabela.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Mashabela Neilwe from the EFF, the member of this committee. Chair, our primary duty as the committee is to conduct oversight on the department. The responsibility of the department with this committee is to account. The report must be written in such a way that we are able to conduct oversight. Unfortunately, this report doesn't paint a clear picture of accountability. For example, Chair, if you go to paragraph 12 in page 13, it reads as follows: contract variation without approval. Chair, this is a red flag in terms of value for money, unauthorized expenditure, and potential corruption. We are left with the following questions. Which contract? What is the value of the contract? What is the value of the variation? Who is responsible for this variation without approval? What happened to this person in terms of consequence management? Chair, at what level were these decisions made? Was the CFO aware of this? Were disciplinary processes instituted? A report, Chair, that is brought to this committee must have all the details. Unless someone is covering up something they don't want us to know. Paragraph 13 in page 14, Chair, reads as follows: poor performance by service provider. Again, we are left to ask questions like, which service provider, which contract, where did this project take place, the nature of the contract, and if the department recovered taxpayers' money? Third, this report is misleading because it doesn't give us full details of the findings and how findings were resolved. The department is presenting the scheme sum and Uzala highlights type of a report, and this thing must come to an end. We are not getting the full story of the findings and how they were resolved. I propose, Chair, the rejection of this presentation and further propose that the department give us a fully detailed report. We must get a detailed report in order to enable members of the committee to conduct a thorough oversight. A presentation summary without a detailed report is misleading to the committee and the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mashabela. Honorable Slongo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings, Minister and Deputy Minister, the department led by the DG, the South African Tourism, and honorable members on the platform. Chairperson, the report indicates that all 25 audit findings are marked as fully resolved. How has internal audit independently verified that these resolutions are effective and sustainable rather than just implemented procedurally? What assurance can this committee receive that these issues will not re-emerge in next year's AGSA audit? The presentation lists several findings involving the DBSA as an implementing agent. What specific accountability measures are in place to monitor DBSA's performance, prevent repeated things? You mentioned that internal audit and AGSA focus on different areas. Shouldn't internal audit still anticipate and test the same high-risk areas that AGSA prioritizes for financial audits? The report highlights inadequate risk assessment and weak follow-through. What changes has been made to risk management process to ensure emerging risks are captured before they escalate into audit findings? Internal audit cites challenges with auditing processes handled by implementing agents. What agreements or MOUs are in place to ensure full access and oversight of third-party implementation activities? Several audit findings, like the SOIDA certificate, preference point location delays relate to supply chain and procurement non-compliance. Has the department undertaken a full review of SCM personnel, systems, and training gaps to prevent these issues from recurring? The EPWP and infrastructure project findings
Honorable Hlongo, you may proceed.
Yeah, I got kicked out by network. Where was I?
You may proceed, Honorable Hlongo.
Okay, thank you. The EPWP and infrastructure project findings in Kabeni Center, Oaks, and Muzipan suggest recurring challenges in project planning and delivery. How is the department improving project readiness assessment and municipal coordination before project outrolls or rollouts? Finding related to IT vulnerability assessment, log management tools, and lack of a business impact analysis were marked resolve, yet noted as effectiveness untested. What is the timeline for validating the effectiveness of these controls? Will results be reported back to this portfolio committee, given the increased digital reliance? What steps are being taken to implement a fully functional, auditable, and secure IT control environment, particularly with regard to cyber risk? And then lastly, Chair, with all findings marked as resolved, what mechanisms are in place to track repeat audit findings, and how will you hold management accountable if similar issues appear in the 2025-2026 financial year? Then finally, does internal audit have sufficient capacity, independence, and resources to prevent future audit findings? And if not, what support is required from this portfolio committee? Thank you, Chairperson. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Honorable Hlongo. Honorable Maecho, is that a historical hand?
Yes, Chair, it's a historical hand. My apologies.
Chair, I think you missed me out.
Honorable Moodley, your hand was not up all this time.
No, it was, ma'am.
No, it was not.
Thank you,
But
thank you, Chair. Thank you.
But you may,
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Moodley, you may
Thank you,
proceed.
Chair. The Minister, colleagues. You know, this whole presentation was about reasons for failure. Every single slide. There was no slide there said anything good but consequent management, and all my colleagues have spoken alike. Now, there's a question that I want to ask the Minister. Minister, these negative audit findings, did it come from the 6th Parliament when you were there or just after that? And that'll give us a way forward, because right now I can say you're sorry. We can't cover this with marmalade jam. We need to find exactly, because there's no consequence. We speak about consequent management in this Parliament every single day. But you know what? This is a damn mess. And somebody needs to fix it. I know you said you're sorry and you want to fix it. So let's see how you fix it, because this whole slide I saw, just reasons for failure. So we're failing here some way. You know, please, if you can answer this question, was you the minister at that time when this negative audit findings were done, or just after that, so that we can fix it? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Moodley. Let me give the department an opportunity to answer the questions that the honorable members posed. And to the department, you only have 20 minutes. I need to now be strict on time so that by 12:30, we release our members. We may run slightly over 12:30. But I know there is a sitting as well today at 2 p.m. So over to you, the department.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Firstly, I'll start with the question posed by Member Lefaraba on the DBSA, the COIDA finding. I would say that the GE, the group exec, we got feedback from him in terms of what actions have they implemented. That's why we were able to there's written assurance that indicates what exactly did they do. Now with the online, the action was that they would also conduct online checking on the COIDA certificates, and that's the action that now they also attested to that they are doing. So the online thing, it comes from the action itself. So basically what we're focusing on when we're doing the follow-up is what the action was saying. What is it that management have committed themselves to do? And then over and above that, they also reported that they have investigated and conducted the hearing with the 2 directors of the companies affected. And those companies were reported to National Treasury. And also to close the gap as well, they've also developed and adopted a debarment policy for contractors and suppliers that are in the wrongdoing. That's coming from DBSA. And also that the process of consequence management is continuing. So that's the first question. On the internal independent reviews for the HR finding, when it says independent, it's mainly HR staff. However, like the person who have captured the leave can't be the reviewer. There has to be a supervisor checking, approving that leave. And then post the supervisor, there has to be now someone else now who will also be verifying what has happened. So that is independent reviewers. It comes there within the unit itself, but different staff members and different levels. And the other question, I'm not sure if I missed anything. And if I can also answer from Honorable Member Tonga, the assurance, the focus of internal audit, as well as external audit. Now I've missed on the implementing agents. What we were saying is that from our side, because we can't go to DBSA, however, we are through the contract or the MOU of the department with DBSA. We are hopeful that they can be some sort of.
Can you just hold on for a moment? I see the hand of Dr. Shamila. Dr. Shamila.
Good morning, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, DM and Minister. Chair, if it is acceptable for you, I would just like to add to some of the issues after Ms. Sabia has concluded. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that will be fine, Dr. Shamila. Ms. Sabia, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that from the side of the implementing agents, we were saying because we can't go there and audit there, and they do have their own internal audits, we are saying we are working on an arrangement that maybe through the enforcement of the contract that we have with them, we can have an arrangement where their internal audits do the effectiveness testing for the actions which have now become the controls, and provide the department with an assurance report that they have audited those areas, so that the department can rest assured that the issues raised were dealt with from their side. Because what we focus on from our side when we do a follow-up, we are guided by, first of all, from the recommendations of the AG. What is AG recommending? Then what is the department committing to do in terms of the action? And then when we follow up, we check, has that action been completed? Has that action been done? And that is why I said in our plan for 25-26, we will then do the effectiveness testing of those actions, which have now become control systems. For instance, the actions in relation to SCM. In our plan, every year we have audits of quotation process, tender process, assets management. So those actions which have now been implemented, they are now part of controls in those areas. So we will definitely audit that and test for their effectiveness and report to management to give assurance that they are working as intended. And the other question, I don't know if I've left out anything, but for now, Shamila can go, Chairperson. I'll come back if there's anything that I've missed out.
Thank you, Mrs. Sibia. Dr. Shamila, you may come in.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and good morning to everyone on the platform. Honourable Chair, I want to take a step back and take the honourable members of this committee into our confidence in terms of how we deal with the audit findings, and then addressing the shortcomings that have been identified. We do, as a department and as management within the department, take both the audit process and the findings that emanate from the audit process very seriously. Internal audit and the project teams in the department play distinct and different roles. So once we get the audit findings from the AG, as the team that is involved in projects, we actually then look at these audit findings, but we also look specifically at what the root cause of the audit findings is. And we deal with this applicably in terms of the project level findings, but also we look at how we deal with it systemically. Internal audit's role is then to actually review our audit action plans and to advise whether we have in fact addressed the root causes in terms of the audit actions that we deliver, and assess the evidence that we provide. As a management collective, we have, of course, developed the internal audit action plan under the guidance of the DG and the Office of the CFO. We have met, I think, almost consistently, at least every 2 weeks on the audit action plan, and looked at evidence collectively. And then, as I said, there's an independent review by internal audit on these actions. So what we did specifically with the DBSA findings was that once we received the findings, we met with the DBSA team. We then crafted the action plan together with them to look at how we would address the root cause of some of the findings. And let me speak to a bit more of the detail with regards to the findings. So there were some findings that were related to the preferential procurement matters, as well as to the COIDA certificates. And these are procurement-related matters. DBSA sought guidance from the DTIC on the preferential procurement matters. And what we then did in meeting with them was to understand how they impacted these recommendations that came from the DTIC into their internal systems. The letters that are between ourselves and the DBSA are not just correspondence that are meaningless. They are, in fact, letters that provide assurance from the GE at DBSA that the matters related to procurement and how procurement is done have in fact now been effected systemically in DBSA systems. There has been training of their procurement officials, and that's what these letters confirm. And they have also then updated their procurement templates to align with the advice of the DTIC. Again, Chair and honourable members, it is about addressing the root cause of the findings that the AG has provided, not just specifically addressing a small matter. Secondly, with regard to dealing with projects, I can assure you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, that the DBSA does in fact manage these contracts strictly according to the agreements that are in place with service providers. In all of the projects where there have been defaulting performance in terms of either the PSPs or the contractors, penalties have been levied against these contractors and PSPs. The DBSA does not earn a management fee on any projects that are delivered late. And that is within our own contractual agreement with the DBSA. We have, in fact, also reviewed our contractual agreement with the DBSA and made these specific clauses applicable. So we are have been assured, and we have seen that through the kind of project meetings that we have, that where applicable, these penalties have been levied against defaulting contractors. There are no, failed projects that are implemented at this point, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. All of our projects are in construction or completing construction and going into operation. And so there are no matters at this point that we have not resolved from last year's audit findings. I think that there was an issue that was related to contract variation. In our contract with the DBSA is allowed to, in fact, vary the contracts up to a certain percentage, and provided that there are no changes in budgets. Where there have been changes in budgets or where there's a requirement for changes in budgets, those have been duly approved by the department. So we've also then looked at that clause when we revised it to now include all variations in our space. And we have looked at addressing, so for example, one of the findings was related to completing some of the works to a specific standard on a project. We have in fact done that action, but we've also then looked at how that standard applies across all of our projects and made sure that at practical completion, all of those standards are properly adhered to. Again, Chair, we have tried to address root causes, not just the specific outcomes that the auditors have established for us. So in some instances where the root cause was related to detailed reports or detailed specialist studies, we have implemented that across the board in the entire population of our projects. So as Togo indicated, the presentation actually does provide a summary, but there is a lot more detail behind how we have dealt with these audit findings. And I do want to assure both the chair and the committee members that we have taken the findings from the AG very seriously. We also treat the internal audit findings seriously, because all of these, as we see them in our space, help us to improve our systems, help us to ensure accountability. And we have worked very closely with the DBSA to close some of the gaps that were identified in the last audit finding. Of course, the test, as Togo has indicated, will be this year's audit in terms of the actions that we have taken. I think, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, I will stop there and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Shamila.
Honourable Chairperson.
Minister, okay, sorry.
Yes, DG, you may come in.
My humble apology, Honourable Chairperson. I'm unable to raise a hand. The rights to raise a hand seems not to be allocated. Honourable Chairperson, quite briefly, I would also want the CFO to respond to the issue with regards to the prior year regular expenditure that had to be restated, which led to the correction. There was a specific question about that. But in terms of the layers of assurance, I think both Dr. Chetia as well as Ms. Via, they have actually alluded to them. So we've got, in terms of the projects, there will be DBSA doing things internally. Then there will be management, which comprises of DDG Chetia and the team that would then work directly with DBSA. So that will be the first layer. Then there would be a third layer, which would be the Audit Action Plan Committee, which is the one that I chair. Then after that, there will then be the Audit Committee. So by the time this information gets submitted, management has actually satisfied itself. Then the Audit Committee would then do its work, but subsequent to that, the internal audit will do its work, and subsequent to that, it would then send it to the Audit Committee for further assurance. So those layers, and some of these things also are in the Risk Management Committee, so they go through those. What I would want to say, Honourable Chairperson, from our side, there was really no intent whatsoever to mislead the committee. There was also no intent not to have full disclosure. And I think, of course, the internal auditors are independent from management in this regard. But what I would want to propose, Honourable Chairperson, through the Minister and the Deputy Minister, is that we then provide the detailed report with regards to all of the issues that are contained in this particular, with the necessary evidence contained in this particular report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG. I think I heard Minister Delil. Would you?
Yes, I would like to come in through you, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Honourable members, Honourable Chairperson, I do get the message loud and clear from the Portfolio Committee that the time for talk is over and you speak the same language of the Auditor General that has made a call to action. I further want to agree with the committee that green does not mean or indicate that the remedial action has been implemented, and then there is also the testing process. But the testing process of remedial action must... Can you still hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, Minister.
Oh, thank
you. Proceed. I don't know what's happening with our screen, though.
Oh, my screen. Okay, there it's back. Thank you, Chairperson. I think I want to agree with the DG that what we need to do as a follow-up is to provide the Portfolio Committee with a written portfolio of evidence, including when we say we have written a letter to DBSA, that we also show the letter and we show the response from the DBSA. So that we must bring a portfolio of evidence to Parliament, so that, you know, we must never mislead Parliament, because it's a very, very serious offense. So that is what we need to do. If I can speak directly to the DBSA. And first of all, we also need to provide the portfolio committee with a copy of the contract of the service level agreement that we have signed with the DBSA on the 26th of March 2025, where they have asked for a further extension to, I think, 2027. That document must be provided by the department to the portfolio committee. I will certainly act in terms of one of the three key priorities of the Government of National Unity is to build a capable, ethical state. And we must show commitment to that particular priority. But then we are guided by legislation as to how to do it. And my responsibility will be to act in terms of Section 38 of the PFMA, the general responsibilities of accounting officers, to act in terms of Section 39 of the PFMA, accounting officers' responsibilities relating to budgetary control, and to act in terms of Section 40 of the PFMA. That I will start, and I will give a regular report to the committee in terms of acting in terms of the PFMA, and that I will start very, very soon. In the service level agreement of the DBSA that was signed on the 26th of March, included in there is that the department must establish a PSU, which is an oversight committee. And that oversight committee has got two responsibilities, and I've raised this before also. We must do contract management. We can't just sign contracts and service level agreements. We have to actually make sure that we implement it. I've been asking about the establishment of this oversight committee in terms of our service level agreement with DBSA. We are now on the 24th of June, and as far as my knowledge go, and the department can correct me, I have not received a report that committee is being established. And this is now April, May, June, 3 months later. So the service level agreement does make provision for better oversight. I think also what we have done, I have included in the new service level agreement, is that there will be no further extensions to DBSA, and that every year we will review their performance, and if we want to cancel that contract even in 2026, we must be able to do so. So those are the administrative actions that the service level agreement makes provision for, that we as a department has not done. Then also, Honorable Moody asked about whether these things happened before my time. Yes, Honorable Moody, I was appointed in March 2023. I was reappointed in May 2024. But when you inherited a department, You inherit the department with its baggage and its garbage, and it becomes your responsibility. And therefore, I must make sure that even what happened in previous financial years, that because the AG is an institution and ensure accountability for the whole of government, I must still take a responsibility to ensure that those actions of the AG is implemented until the AG is satisfied that we have complied with the instructions by the AG. The DM and myself, we have diarized already the oversight visits that we are doing to these infrastructure projects. We have prioritized them in terms of the level of non-performance. The DM has done one recently in KZN, and then the DM brings report back about the findings. I have been told by the DG that he has done some of those oversight visits, but we must also get the report so that both the DM and myself are informed about remedial action. So I want to give my commitment today to the Portfolio Committee that in terms of the GNU priorities, I will start acting immediately. In terms of the PFMA, and then give regular reports to the committee, because I agree with the committee that the time for talk is over, that our people are suffering because of poor service delivery. And in the end, who gets the blame for poor service delivery? It's the political principles, because we have been elected by the people of South Africa. So we can't always, as the political principles, shift the blame to the administration, who most of the time is throwing the political principles under the bus. We must be seen to be acting and acting within the framework of the law so that we can meet the key priorities of the GNU by the end of the 5-year term. We are there for 5 years. Some of the officials are in the department for permanently. They sometimes see us as temporary inconvenience for 5 years. But I want to assure the committee, because my own personal integrity is involved here. And I have also to protect that together with the DM. I understand the point made by Honorable Lindy that very strongly said you must fix it, and that the DM and the minister must focus on the individuals. Honorable Lindy, Honorable Slonga, Moody, all of the members, Ishmael, all of you, we have heard your voices loud and clear. And I am committed to fix this as soon as possible. And this is the same applies to SAT. I know your temperature is going up, and I'm sure it's going to go even more up once we get to SAT. But the time for now is to act. So, Honorable Chairperson, I have requested that I just do an introductory meeting with you. I hope we can do soon, so that, I want to continue to build on a positive, constructive relationship with the Portfolio Committee because of the separation of powers and the role of members of Parliament. And I really would like us to continue along that way. So that will be my response to the department's presentation. And after this, I always say when it comes to Parliament and to the AG, you have to drop whatever you are busy with and attend to it immediately. And I hope the department, DG, and the DDGs, that after this meeting, we start working and providing that information to the portfolio committee as soon as possible, the whole portfolio of evidence, so that the portfolio committee can do their oversight properly. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Dalal. I think we still have our last presentation that is outstanding. And we took a bit of time with the department's presentation. Of Erasmus. Mr. Erasmus, you have 20 minutes to do your presentation on South African tourism for the committee.
Honourable Chair, thank you very much. I would, if I may, just hand over to the chairperson of the board. I know he wanted to do opening remarks, and then the team, the executive team, will take over from there to do the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, Minister, DM, and Honourable members. Honourable Chairperson, because of time constraint, I'll just introduce who are with me in this meeting. We have the interim ARCO Chair, as well as the acting CEO. The presentation for SA Tourism will be led by our acting Chief Internal Audit Executive, Ms. Anema Kwarani, and she will be assisted by the acting CFO, Mr. Ramova. Because of time, I'll hand.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable members, and thank you for the opportunity to present. I will go straight to slide number 2, where it outlines the presentation. I will be talking about the mandate and responsibility of internal audit in terms of the PFMA, applicable treasury regulations, a summary of the National Treasury Internal Audit Framework, overall key AG audit findings and progress, summary of AG internal audit, audit findings, and then the details progress on the audit findings. Also, share the reasons for failure in identifying internal audit issues before they become AG findings. Also, the recommendations and the next steps, conclusion and the question and answers. I will go to the next slide. I will just give a brief overview. I won't go through everything. In terms of the PFMA, institution needs to have maintain internal audit, of which, yes, SA Tourism does have an internal audit unit, and then which also reports directly to the Audit and Risk Committee. Administratively, so it reports to the CEO. I will move to the next slide. Internal audit provide independent objective assurance to the accounting authority, which is the board, through the Risk and Audit Committee. We also have our own charter that outlines our responsibilities, the scope, authority, and then it's aligned with both National Treasury regulations and then the internal audit standards. I will move to the next slide, which is now applicable Treasury regulations. In terms of the PFMA, institutions internal audit is supposed to follow the provisions of Treasury Regulation 3.2, of which it needs to establish the function. It is established. And then I will move to the regulation number 2, which is 3.2, which outlines that internal audit function must prepare and consult with a Audit and Risk Committee in terms of a 3-year rolling plan. We do a 3-year rolling plan each and every year, which is our approach is a risk-based that we take from the strategic risk register of the institution, and then it gets approved by ARCO and the board. In terms of the Treasury Regulation 3.2, internal audit must report directly to the Audit Committee. This is the practice, and then we are also reporting directly to Audit and Risk Committee. I'll move to the Treasury Regulation 3.2 that outlines that internal audit function must coordinate with other external providers. Internal audit, we do engage with the external providers, which is our AG, and then we share our work. We do regular communications as well with the AG. And then all the reports that we issue, we share with the AG for them to use for their planning and then for their audit purposes. Quarterly, we do report our reports to the subcommittee of the board, which is Audit and Risk Committee, and then also to the board itself. And then we do highlight significant internal weaknesses in the control. That is done on a quarterly basis as well. And then we do highlight through our reports. That goes to the board and the audit and risk. In terms of Treasury Regulation 3, 1.10, the audit charter, the internal audit charter must be reviewed, and then its plan must be in line with all the regulations and the standards that we are in compliance of all the of the regulation, and also with the internal audit global standards. I'll move to the next slides. This is in addition of the regulations. We also have to comply with the global internal audit standards. So this is the purpose statement of the internal audit. We are in conformance with the standards of the global internal audit standards. And then there is a last item on the paragraph that says when does internal audit deemed most effective. It's most effective when it is independently positioned. So we are independent. We review. We do our work independently. We don't assume any responsibilities of management. We give independent assurance to the board on a quarterly basis, and then we also report all administratively to the executive. And then we are not influenced by anyone or by management in doing our work. So if I can just give a context, internal audit for us to ensure that we are effective and then we are in compliance with all these regulations and the global internal audit standards, the board took a resolution that we need to do the assessment by the independent assessor, of which is part of the standards as well. Each and every 5 years, internal audit must be evaluated. We were evaluated by independent assessor, and then in two folds. With the first one, which was the conformance with the global internal audit standards, of which we did receive a general conformance, which shows that all the applicable laws we are in conformance, and then we are doing our work as we are supposed to do, and then with the right structures in place. And then on the second part of the assessment was the effectiveness, of which we got a partial effectiveness, of which they highlighted the areas that are impacting on the effectiveness of internal audit, of which those areas were outside the control of internal audit. They have highlighted, I'll just share a few, which was contributing to the ineffectiveness. The fact that the function is the one that is managing the hotline and the forensics, it gives a wrong impression within the institution or the organization. We are viewed as forensics rather than a value-adding unit, which is internal audit. And then it also outlines the resources. In terms of the resources, internal audit is not capacitated well. We do have a vacancy of the CAE, which is in progress. And then also, it also recommended that we do get additional resources to ensure that we cover our 3-year coverage is expanded in terms of the work, so that we can give a assurance that is in a bigger scope. The risk unit currently is ineffective, which is also impacting internal audit. that was highlighted as well on the report. So I will move now straight to the summary of the National Treasury Internal Audit Framework. So the entity provide, we provide the entity we provide guidance to the entity in establishing and managing effective internal audit function. So the key principles, we do our the independence. The unit is independent. Internal audit is reporting to the Risk and Audit Committee. We do our approach is a risk based when we do our assessments, and then resources. Internal audit is not, I've already highlighted, is not resource adequately currently. Key overall progress in the findings. If I were to do a comparison, the tracking of implementation against the agreed action plan, only in AG findings, I can confirm that by 31st of March, the achieved was a 79 only for AG, but for overall, when we were averaging between AG and internal audit findings, it was a 73%. But post 31st March 2025, on AG findings, the management has improved in terms of actioning. We have moved to 95%. So we also assess the adequacy and the timeliness of management. Yes, there are some items that are addressed timeously. There are some items that are not done timeously. We do also provide a recommendation on the overdue and in progress issues. Progress made. Yes, we can say for now, looking at the work that was done by the management and also the independent reviews that we did as internal audit, that yes, there are adequate steps that are taken towards closing the findings on agreed terms with the AG. So the areas of improvement, there is still 5% issues remain still overdue on the AG findings that requires urgent attention from management. We are pushing a management to ensure that they put the right controls to ensure that all this, the 5% is also covered to strengthen the control environment. I will move now to the finding summary. This is now the status of the AG findings. For 2023-24, AG raised 39 findings. Currently, management has achieved closing the findings 37, which gave us the percentage of 95%. There is still one finding that is still in progress. In progress, it means that there is some action that they have started actioning, but it's not yet completed to fit the definition of a closed. So additional POE is still required. And overdue, it means that there is no movement that was done, and then we still, and then the action date is already passed. I will move to the overview of the AG findings per executive. We had 39 findings from AG, of which 32 findings were coming from Office of the CFO, which is the findings that has led us to the qualification of 2023-24 audit. And then we have one from the Office of the CEO, and then we have 3 from the ICT space, and then we also have 2 on the HC human capital space. Now I'm going to move to the detailed findings. We did a summary of the findings, but in our original spreadsheet where the findings are coming from, the details of the findings are there. When I'm presenting, I will try to give an additional comments as well to ensure that the committee has a full view of a finding. what we do as internal audit, our responsibility is to ensure that we do follow-ups on AG findings and internal audit findings, and to ensure that the findings are closed adequately, and then the control environment is also improving. So what we do on a monthly basis, we track all these findings, we report them back to the executives. On a quarterly basis, we report back to the Audit and Risk Committee and the board. What we get from management, we will receive the POE on how they have closed the findings, and then we do our own independent test to ensure that the audit findings are closed appropriately. And then in these instances, most of the findings were coming from the annual financial statements of 2024-25. What we have received from management, we have received the new Fs of 24-25. We did an independent review on those to ensure that there is no recurring of the mistakes that were picked up by AG on the previous financial year, of which is the one that I'm presenting here. And then also, we also, as internal audit, we did a root cause analysis to ensure, to see what is really causing those findings. And then of which we did identify some, most of them, it was a timely preparation of the Fs. The Fs on that particular year were done late, and then which did not give a room for review adequately. And then we also have OPCA, which is an Operation Clean Audit a structure that is also following up on these findings. We also get the work that they do, and then we assess it independently. So the first finding was the misstatement of a trade receivables, and the management action was to revisit the population of the accounts payable and AP accruals to assess the validity of the amounts included in the account balances in order to correct the misstatements. And then the misstatement that was picked up by AG was 195 million, which is a material misstatement. So when we compare now with the 2024-25 fiscal year financial statements, through our own independent reviews and an additional review that was done by another independent service provider, we did not pick up any recurring on the trade receivable balances. We'll move to number 2, which is a misstatement and deficiencies in relating to the payables. The correction management action was to correct the deficiencies and misstatements, and then the misstatement was 21.9 million, of which it was a material amount that also led to the qualification. So through our own independent review and then the additional control that management has put of additional review by independent service provider, we did not pick any misstatements relating to the payables. If I can move to finding number 3, there was a marketing expenditure overstated and understated of marketing marketing expenditure. There was an overstatement by 11 million that was picked up by AG, and then what we did as internal audit through the review and also the independent review on the current financials that AG is auditing, we tested to see if there is a misstatement on the marketing expenditure or not. There was no misstatement that was picked up or understatement that was picked up during our review. And then number 4, the high-level review of the annual financial statements. There were errors and inconsistencies that needed to be corrected that were picked up by AG. Those errors were 10 notes and the balances that were not matching the description. You will find that the Fs are showing the amounts that are showing on the Fs that were corrected are no longer matching the description of the notes. Those were the errors that were picked up by AG on a high level review, and then they were corrected by 31st of December. So we also did our independent review as internal audit to ensure that such mistakes are no longer coming back or recurring. So number 5, differences between trial balance and fixed assets. So adjustment needed to be made by management to ensure that there is no difference. That was done immediately by management. Those errors were coming from property and plant and equipment, of which it was 2.9 million, the difference between the trial balance and the fixed assets. Number 6, differences between the segments of reporting disclosure, the financial statements and the trial balance. There were 2 segments that were identified by AG, of which the first segment was the liabilities of 115 million, and then the second segment was assets of 45 million. Those were the differences that were noted by AG. And then what we did through our review, we did our own independent review, and then the other service provider to check the differences that are sitting on the trial balance to see if the liability segments and the asset segments are disclosed properly. So I move to number 7, which is land and buildings were not re-evaluated in accordance with GRAP. Yes, the re-evaluation was not done on a yearly basis. Rather, the entity was doing its re-evaluation on a 3-year basis, of which they needed to now revisited and to do the re-evaluation of the land and buildings on an annual basis, of which they have done that. And then we also did our review to see if they were done. I will move to number 8. Number 8 is showing in progress. It means that it's not yet closed. There are some items. This is an expenditure incurred on the DOM activities without delivery of the services. This is the findings that led us to material irregularity findings that was raised by AG on the last financial year. What AG has recommended to the board was the board needs to ensure 4 things are done to ensure the treatment of a material irregularity is addressed. The number 1 was prepayments must only be done in line with a National Treasury Regulation 31 C, where it gives a provision when do you do the prepayments. Of which currently now the board has put a control measure. Only prepayments are done to the service providers where the contract is explicitly inclusive of the requirement of the National Treasury Regulation 31, and then the prepayments are approved by the board, and then they are monitored on a quarterly basis. And then I can confirm that we do not have a huge number of prepayments post the audit. The number 2 was to do the recovery. But it's supposed to furnish AG with the recovery of the loss, which was 4.1 that was identified by AG, which was a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So the recovery of 4.1 needs to be confirmed to AG that how did SAT recovered the money. And then the third one was investigation needed to be done by the board. Yes, the board did that investigation. And then consequence management also needed to be constituted by the board. As at the end, at the time we were preparing the presentation, the recovery was not yet confirmed by internal audit, and then investigation we do confirm, but consequence management we cannot confirm. Hence, the finding is not closed. But I can confirm that the DOM the dome itself as a structure does exist. It was just not sourced in line with the PFMA, but that was reported accurately. And then only these matters of MI that the board is dealing with. I'll move to number 9, failure to take effective steps to prevent irregular expenditure. 4.1 million needed to be reported on the annual financial statement, of which it was the entity did disclose that fruitless and wasteful expenditure as on the Fs. Number 10, marketing expenditure incurred not in accordance with the DOA. So there was an amount of 20.9 million that was approved at the level of management that needed the approval of the board in terms of the DOA. That was not done in that manner. Hence, the finding came in, and then there was an updating of the DOA in terms of the process of the signing of the invoices and the POs that differentiate in terms of who signs what. Number 11, differences between the cash flow statements and the auditor's recalculations. AG did picked up the differences in the cash flow statements, and then what SAT did on the spot, they adjusted the recommendations from the Auditor General before the 31st of July 2024, and then it was rectified on the Fs that they closed 2023-24. A disclosure of post-employment benefits in accordance to GRAP. It was not done in accordance to GRAP, and then adjustment needed to be done in terms of using the correct disclosure using the line of GRAP 25. That we also did confirm through our independent review of the Fs, and also through the report that was conducted by the service provider who was doing agreed upon procedures on the Fs as well. And then number 11, disclosure of post-employment benefits in accordance with, it's a repeat, I'll move. Deficiencies relating to frequency and lack of and the finalization of bank accounts. What AG identified here, it was that the records for April, May, June, and July, they were not, the date that was reflecting on the PDF was showing the same date, meaning that there was a late review of those records. They were done in one day or in July, but it's to AG it's backdated, but the metadata showing that the correct date of approval was in July for March, April, and May records. So in incomplete fixed assets register due to assets that could not be identified. This is where now the assets were allocated incorrect description. You will find that the asset it's reflected as a chair on the asset register, but when you go to the floor, that asset number is a TV. So for AG, they struggled to identify 3 assets that were relating to the incorrect description. So management has updated the asset register and give the correct location and the correct description and the correct unique asset number. I'll move to number 15. Reassessment of useful lives not in accordance with GRAP. AG has picked up 5 assets that were not reassessed, which is the air conditioners. So if you still have the assets that can be reused, you need to do a re-evaluation and give them a 1 rand value of which it was not done in this particular assets. But now the asset register has been corrected with a R1 value. Number 16, asset clearing account not cleared. There were old POs of about 2.4 million that were not cleared, and then management needed to do a reconciliation and also to implement to monitor frequently on the POs that are open and the POs that are closed, to ensure that it doesn't lead to misstatements of the Fs, of which it on the 2023-24 it led to 21.2 million misstatements of the assets. Number 17, incomplete disclosure of accounting by principals and agents. It was adjustment needed to be made to disclose the note, which include the amount for Meetings Africa, which was the management fee of 3.9 that was not disclosed, and then adjustment was made of that 3.9 in the prior year. So policies and procedures not reviewed in line with the review cycle. Still, it's in progress. It's not yet closed. As at 31st of March, it was there was no plan that was provided to internal audit, but post 31st March, we were provided with the plan, where they have listed all the policies that are in place in the organization and its review cycle. We still have a couple of policies that are due for a review, and then it's still a work in progress. Number 19, incorrect disclosure of financial instruments as defined in a GRAP 104. The updating of F's management actions was to update the financials to align with GRAP 104. This is mainly to identify the risks that arise from the financial instruments that were not stated. It could be a credit risk or a liquidity risk. So what we did as internal audit, we checked on the current Fs that AG is reviewing to see if the disclosure is being made. Yes, it's there, and then we appreciate that at least there is no recurring of that finding. Number 20, differences between the trial balance and the annual financial statements. Trade receivable from exchange transactions overstated. There was a difference that was picked up by AG of 209,000 difference. So the recons were prepared, are now prepared on a monthly basis to ensure that there is a supporting evidence in terms of the Fs and the supporting of the trial balance. Number 21, trade receivables from exchange transaction overstated. AG did pick up the amount of 633,530, or the difference that was overstated by. So we also did the similar procedure of testing independently to ensure that the overstatement is not repeated on the current Fs. Administration and management fee overstated. This is linked to the prior findings that I've mentioned of Meetings Africa of 3.9 of management fee. I will move to 23, which is no proof of contract monitoring signed and a deviation.
You have 5 more minutes, please round up. I've given you now over your 20 minutes. You are now going to 40 minutes, in fact. So in the next 5 minutes, please round up.
Okay. there is a contract for the storage of USA country office, of which it was $9,544, of which there was no contract in place. And then the deviation as well needed to be reported to National Treasury, and it was done. Incomplete procurement contract registers. The institution has now procured e-procurement system that now tracks the contract automatically. There is no risk now of manual spreadsheets. Commitment understated, it was understatement by 92,000, and then 28 is the pallets. I've already talked about it. Is the contract that it came to an end. It was not reviewed. It was not renewed on time, and then but we did pay the storage without the valid contract. A renewal of the travel company. Also, the deviation was not reported on time. And then number 30, marketing expenditure overstated, mainly due to purchase orders. And then banking and cash deficiencies, the adjustments were done. Leave transaction not approved in line with the policy. There were leave that were not approved on time, which is an annual leave. We are talking about days over 71 days and 41 days and 17 days respectively, as per the AG finding. And then closing date not provided on the RFQs. There were 4 RFQs in the India office that were not stated when is it closing, which was open for interpretation. And then last 3 findings are related to ICT, of which during the 2023-24, there was no steering committee, ICT steering committee, but now I can confirm that there is an ICT steering committee in place, and then reports to Audit and Risk Committee. And then configurations that were picked up as well, and then they are already fixed, those configurations. I will move now, Chair, to the failures that are leading to AG, not internal audit before it becomes a AG finding. I'll just give an overview. There is a difference in approaches between AG and internal audit. My colleague has already explained the concept. And then the objective of internal audit, we assess effectiveness of the and efficiency of the internal control, while AG review controls as part of the financial statements. And then we have different focuses between AG and internal audit. Reliance of work as well. If they rely on our work, yes, there will be a difference if they choose the different samples, since we use a sample base. Some of the internal audit are elevated to the management report by AG, mainly due to a reason that management doesn't close findings on time. And then by the time AG comes, find that internal audit findings are not yet addressed, and then they elevate them to their management report. SA Tourism currently has ineffective risk management unit. I've already identified.
I think I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to come in. I'm going to stop you there. You are reading the presentation that all of us received. I think we can do on our own. Thank you so much. We have gone past our time. We've given you sufficient time to present. And then, honorable members, you have received the presentations. I just wanted to find out from Daryl, was this the only person from SET that is going to present?
Chair, good afternoon. Yes, Shonasani was going to conclude the presentation for us. So if you would like us to conclude there, we're happy to conclude and take questions. Thank you, Chair.
No, Daryl, I think we are going to proceed. Honorable members still need to leave the meeting. There are those that are having to do the physical meeting at Good Hope Center today.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't want to overstretch them. They still need time to move from wherever they are. And then probably there are some that will still be taking the buses to Parliament Precinct. So I would like to give them sufficient time to do so. Honorable members, may I see some hands? Disang, is it possible to assist me? I'm only seeing about 5 hands. Disang?
Yes, Madam Chair. There is also Mr. Maejo, Ms. Linda. Yeah. And then the last one is Ms. Songo.
Oh,
Please,
Okay.
no, please, Chair.
Okay, let us start with the first hand that I see
Chair,
there.
my hand is up. Chair.
Yeah.
Please,
Must I
Chair.
name all of them, Chair?
Honorable Ismail.
It's Ms. Ismail, Ms.
Ms.
Ligaraba,
Ismail?
Ms.
Yes.
Tito,
I
Yes.
raised my hand too.
Ms. Linda, Mr. Mutli,
Mm.
Mr. Maejo, and then Ms. Songo.
Okay, thank you, Disang. Ms. Ismail, you may come in.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, I just want to welcome the presentation. However, I need to highlight again, while we sing 95% of, a high resolution rate, which we should commend, and we see an updated controls in several technical and compliance areas, I'm still very much concerned because we say closure, and closure does not equal effectiveness. So it seems like many systems are untested. No evidence of consequence management, disciplinary action, or financial recovery is actually displayed. And to the admission of the presentation, there is clearly an issue on audit capacity, considering there are only 3 audit staff. So some issues that raise red flags in reporting integrity are like, a policy plan is listed as will be developed in August 2024, yet we are in June 2025, and this suggests either a copy and paste reporting or outdated status tracking. Furthermore, there's one finding still marked in progress. I know the presenter tried to explain, but despite its being due date as 31st March 2025 with no updated date provided, what does this actually mean? These gaps raise like doubts and concerns about the credibility of the reported 95% resolution rate. Chair, the Democratic Alliance recommends that as a committee, we insist on quarterly reporting that will include real-time effectiveness testing outcomes, status updates on overdue items, and any consequence management actions, cases opened, recoveries, contractor action. We want to see that this has been done. We don't want to just hear it. We want to see it. Now to my questions, looking at consequence management, given the nature of several findings, including irregular expenditure and GRAP non-compliance, has SAT taken disciplinary action, opened any cases, or recovered any funds? If you have, we want to know. We want to know how much funds have been recovered, etc. Looking at audit closures versus real change, you report 95% of findings as closed, but remain untested. What indicators and timelines will be used to measure actual effectiveness, and will these be reported quarterly? Because we're not getting anything of a real outcomes measurement in this report back. And I'm asking this question again in relation to preventing white elephants. What measurable tools are now in place to ensure SAT-funded infrastructure projects are not completed on paper only, but deliver public value in the long term? And then lastly, reporting accuracy is a main concern for me. We noted that some items still use outdated timelines, like a policy plan to be developed by August 2024, yet we are in June 2025, and are finding mark in progress past its due date. What systems are in place to ensure real-time accurate reporting on audit findings? Thank you, Chair. I have many more, but I'm going to restrict myself due to time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Ismail. Honorable Ligaraba.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. Let me first thank the presentation made by the SAT. In order to save time, Chair, I'll go straight to the questions, which are very short and precise. To SAT, what tool do you have in place for monitoring and evaluation? During your presentation, Bo Shonsan used spoke about the vacancies, the critical vacant positions at the SAT. Has the management prioritized the filling of those vacant positions at the head office and country and throughout? If yes, how far are you with the process? If not, why? What controls are in place to ensure that irregularities do not reoccur? The last one, what are the tools that you use to identify risks? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ikharaba. Honorable Tito.
Thanks, Chairperson, and greetings to everyone who is present. Chair, as we see that the report itself, it attributes audit failures in part of ineffective institutional risk management. So, Chair, my question is, what structural reforms are being implemented to institutionalize proactive data-driven risk assessment across all South African tourism operations? And also, Chair, on the detailed progress on findings, we see there in number 8 when in the presentation where they are talking about the dome, we see they are telling us that the management will continue to engage the service provider to ascertain the amounts payable and losses, if any. Chair, we are getting a report which is telling us that the board is still doing its own investigation, and then during when we were given this report, there were still no confirmation on how much is if there is any losses or what. Chair, I'm telling you now today, when that report is going to come here to us, that report of the dome, we are going to find out that there are going to be losses. There are going to be amounts that are going to be given to us that they were given to the service providers and then they are not even accounted to. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tito. Honorable Linda.
Chairperson, thank you very much again for the opportunity. Chair, yeah, there's dome, there's a doring in die vlees, as they say, but I'm going to touch on that. Chair, as you know, the DA loves consequence management. We want to recover our public funds. And there's urgency for us in the internal audit resourcing. That is actually a problem, but I want to ask questions on that, Chair. So I need to know what the consequences will be, including the special disciplinary action that have been imposed on the head of the GRC and the management chain for this failure. So how does SAT ensure accountability extends beyond the technical closure to addressing the leadership and performance failures? Secondly, Chair, I want to know what exact amount of public funds were paid for this undelivered dome services and what concrete steps beyond engagement are being taken to recover these funds. Because, you know, this has been a long time that we are waiting for the recovery of these funds, and will we ever recover it? Is my question, which I think the answer is rhetorical. No, we won't. Chair, next question I have is that given the admission that inadequate internal audit capacity is a root cause of the AG findings, what immediate measurable steps are being taken to urgently fill the chief or CAE position and to significantly increase the headcount? So what is a concrete timeline for achieving a fully resourced IA function capable to effective risk-based auditing? And question, Chair, last question is, how does SAT ensure that the corrective actions for closed findings, those reliant on AFS adjustments, have fundamentally addressed the root causes and strengthened controls to prevent recurrence? So I need to see what specific measurable improvements have been made and how will it improve effectiveness being monitored and ensured. Chair, thank you very much.
Honorable Maejo.
Thank you, Committee Secretary, of course, through you, Chair. Chair, in the interest of time, I have noted a number of discrepancies on this report, but let's also welcome the report because the report, I think that it's specific and it identifies a number of audit findings. And the presentation noted that, Chair, there is no proof of contract monitoring, which, and this applied to the storage that is in the overseas, and there was no contract in place, yet a deviation was effected to pay for such. And Chair, to address this issue of paying for storage without a contract in place, I think that the following steps should be taken to reclaim the money. This is the public funds. And number one, there should be investigation of the deviation so that we determine the reasons for the deviation and identify the official responsible. And then number two, must review this payment so that we verify the payment made for storage, for that storage, and determine if it was reasonable and necessary. And then the number three, Chair, we on the very same issue of the storage, we must also determine the contractual basis to establish whether there was any contractual basis for the payment, even if a formal contract was not in place. But we should investigate that. And then lastly, Chair, we must consider disciplinary action depending on the findings of the investigation, because there is no presentation, there is no highlight on the presentation that speaks about the investigation regarding this matter. So now that's why I'm saying we must consider disciplinary action and obviously institute investigation and then ensure that disciplinary action against officials responsible for this unauthorized payment is effected. Now, moving to the issues of the presentation, it further states that the SAT doesn't have effective risk management tool in place. Again, these reports, they are very worrying. And that's what it is, because we are presented as the internal audit and of course AG reports to address these issues. Because now, if you don't have effective risk management tool in place, what does it mean? It means that you are facing financial losses of unmanaged risks, which can result in financial losses and damage to assets or unforeseen expenses. But equally, here we are talking about operational disruptions. We are going to have unmanaged risks which can disrupt operations, causing delays, inefficiencies, or even complete shutdowns. Therefore, I think that to address all these failures so that we are not found wanting, is that this particular report, and through the minister must take everybody responsible, including the board. Because what will be the role of the board in this regard? What is the board doing in ensuring that this entity adheres to the stipulated regulations that are in line with the findings of the AG? So this calls for the minister as well to make sure that she takes everyone responsible to account for the failures. But lastly, Chair, one thing that I want also to recommend, we must have the SAT must develop, and through the board, develop a risk management framework. They must also identify and assess risks. They must also implement risk mitigation strategies, making sure that they monitor and review these processes equally. And lastly, training and awareness for employees so that they understand the importance of risk management and their roles in the process. Chair, there are many, like I said, in the interest of time, I will pause for now. Thank you.
Honorable Maetso, I think we have lost you.
Yeah, it's Honorable Mutley next.
I'm done, Chair, in the interest of time.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Maetso. Honorable Mutley.
Thank you, Chair. 35 million could be paid for irregularly paid out for non-existing services. Were these executives dismissed or did they resign before consequences? What criminal charges, if any, have been laid? How were such large payments processed without proper verification? What role did board oversight play in this failure? And the last one, what is the timeline for resolving the chief audit executive appointment? And that is a cause of everything because you only got 3 staff here. So can if I'm wrong, please somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's me now because of time and the sitting of 2 o'clock for some of us. I'll go straight to my points, Chairperson. Am I audible?
You may proceed, Honorable Tlongo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, one would want to know or like to know that if SET doesn't have an effective risk management tool in place, what do they use to identify risks? And then secondly would be in the report, they mention or they report that 39 AGS findings have been closed, which is 95%, with only 1 in progress and 1 overdue. What independent validation mechanisms were used to confirm these findings are genuinely closed and not just administratively marked as resolved? And then lastly, Chair, because of time, several findings reference walkthroughs conducted or POEs reviewed, yet effectiveness is marked as untested. How is internal audit ensuring these actions are embedded in daily operations and findings? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tlongo. Honorable members, I think we have really gone over our time, and if we are going, oh, Honorable Mutley, did I say Honorable Mutley?
Honorable Mutley is done, Chair.
Oh, he's done. Oh, I see lots of legacy hands. Those hands that are up, Honorable Linda, Honorable Maetso, Honorable. Oh, those are historical hands. Honorable Maetso, is that a historical hand?
Yes, Chair, except that the issue of the dome, which I think that other colleagues emphasized over it. I had a question about it with regard to the money that was spent on it and the corruption or the alleged corruption case that might have taken place in that. What are measures that are in place to ensure that the money is recovered, Chair, in terms of the corruption that has been conducted against this act? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Maetso. I see the hand of Honorable Minister Dalil. Honorable Minister, you will be the last person. I am going to kindly request from SA Tourism to respond to all the questions of our honorable members in writing, because if I'm going to give them an opportunity to answer now and interact with the questions that the honorable members have posed, it will really take us over 1 o'clock. And as I've stated, honorable members still need to go. Some have to attend the physical meeting in Parliament, and some is probably already on the buses to Parliament precinct. So I would then give SA Tourism an opportunity to write all the responses and then submit it to Disang, who is our secretary of our portfolio committee. Over to you, Honorable Dalal, before I come in, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I wanted to make a proposal that is clear that the portfolio committee did not get all the full answers that they expect from us, from both the department and SAT. And I wanted to request if Honorable Chairperson and members will consider to call us back, give us another date. But before we come back, that we make sure that all the questions that were not answered are answered in writing and prepare well. If the committee will consider that request. And then I was just going to, because I've got an email in front of me that I received about 3 weeks ago from one of the board members. The question that most members have asked about the recovery of the 4.1 million. I've got an email that confirmed that the 4.1 million was recovered from a service provider called WWP. And then we can bring all of that information, but I would ask a chairperson to consider calling us back to deal properly with both reports. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I see a hand of Honourable Ismail.
Thank you, Chair. While I welcome the Minister's response with regard to that, can I perhaps ask you to put a timeline when we're going to be receiving those responses to our questions? We've had this scenario of we will be writing and, we will be responding, we'll give you responses in writing, and to date, we haven't received those. So if we can get the timeline, please, I'll appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Ismail. We would like to receive those responses by next week. It's not responses that needs to be thought out. It's responses that they should have had, at hand, because they were going to interact with the questions in any case here. So by next week, we would like to receive the responses from SAT.
And can Chairperson give us a date, please, next week?
Disang, what is the date next week? Wednesday? Disang?
Next week, Tuesday is the 1st, Chair.
The 1st, ne?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, if we could have the responses back by the 1st, Honourable Minister.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
And I think we will then also just look at a suitable date and time to call yourselves back to the committee so that we can further interact. There are many things, and if we are striving for a clean audit, then indeed, that callback is going to be very important.
Yes.
I would just like to do some closing remarks, honourable members. The Minister is urged to ensure that all issues raised by the Auditor General in what the AG referred to as a call to action in improving service delivery matters are addressed. The Minister ensures that all submissions to be considered by the committee adhere to agreed timeframes, that all documents are sent to the Secretariat on Thursdays preceding the committee meeting the following Tuesday. The Minister should impose consequence management to the accounting officer and the Deputy Director Generals on non-performance and negligence of their duties in performing reasonable instructions from the Minister. Otherwise, the issues relating to non-performance, including addressing audit findings, will persist. The audit action plans must meet all Treasury regulations, especially Regulation 3.2.4 for the Department to develop a rolling 3-year action plan to prevent and track negative audit matters. The department should improve on contract management and track how the audit findings are being resolved in relation to third parties implementing agents. The department and SA Tourism should update the committee after the effectiveness testing of the systems in relation to audit findings. This is important because the committee is looking at strengthening audit functions for the entire 7th Parliament. If the department audits all the programs, it should not therefore happen that the AGSA will pick a program and still find an issue with it. The internal audit should ensure that they go through all programs with a fine comb to prevent them being AGSA findings. The issue should be properly recorded in the risk register, and the Director General should ensure that the risk register is continually updated and properly managed. The Director General should honor his undertaking to provide further information to the committee with written portfolio of evidence on how the matters have been resolved. The establishment of the project management unit was included in the previous MOU with the DBSA. The Minister alluded to the clause of establishing a PSU in the current MOU. The Minister should give the committee a clear time frame of when this will be done. If possible, the Minister may provide that date in this meeting. With regard to South African tourism, SA Tourism has a position of head of internal audit vacant for a long time and might have led to a laxed internal audit function. The post must be filled as soon as possible. The Minister and the board should ensure that the internal audit function is fully resourced and effective. The board should prioritize filling this position. The Minister and the board should ensure that there are effective internal controls and provide timeline of when this will be done. It is of concern that most findings come from the office of the CFO. This is more on the annual financial statements. The board should ensure that the office of the CFO is adequately resourced. The issue of findings on financial statements should be completely eradicated as it emanates from incapacity by finance staff in the entity to record and report on transactions. There should be no recurrence of this finding, and there should be training and empowerment of staff in the finance department. If the matter recurs after such training, there should be consequence management. If one looks at the cases that SA Tourism has taken to court requiring refunds from the service providers, it is apparent that the board in the past did not play an effective oversight over the office of the CEO. The current board should conduct close oversight on the office of the CEO in relation to conflict of interest and illicit relations with service providers. Overall, the committee urges the head of the audit and risk of the board of SA Tourism to be abreast and top of all the audit and risk issues. This needs to meticulously and dedication approach to prevent and address audit issues at SA Tourism. Mr. Miller Matola is in the meeting, and the committee impresses on you, sir, and the board chairperson to assist the country in ensuring that these matters are dealt with effectively. The 7th Parliament looks up to you, chairperson and head of Audit and Risk Committee, to take SA Tourism out of its current predicament. Thank you. I know, honorable members, that on our agenda we had one more item, which was the minutes, but we will push the minutes back for to the next meeting. And with that said, Honorable Ismail, is that a legacy hand?
Yes, I suppose it is. Thank you, Tris. Sorry, I'll remove it now.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Ismail. And with that said,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Disang?
Just an announcement, Chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
Regarding the budget vote report, I've sent the second draft to the members, so they must ignore the first one that I sent. So members can go through the report, and then if there are issues, then they can send it to the secretariat. Then the committee will only adopt the budget vote report next week on the 1st of July.
Thank you so much, Disang, and thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, all honorable members, our staff from the department, as well as the board of SAT that is present. Thank you for your attendance today. Our meeting is duly closed.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Chair. Thanks to all
Thank you,
members. Thank
Chairperson.
you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good day. Bye-bye. Bye.
Over.